in history! Take a picture! Yo!
With Clash Royale League, and I believe that we'll also have Clash of Clans there, so really excited. And I've actually never been to Atlanta, shockingly enough. I've had friends that have lived there for years, and the film industry's there, but haven't actually ever been there before, so a lot of fun.
I was there for King's Cup back in 2018, 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be, I'll get to visit the old stomping grounds, so that should
Probably
be nice.
a lot of people will be there that remember you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, so here we go, getting ready for game number 1 between these guys, Viper and Pedro. Pedro looking a bit unstoppable right now. Viper, I mean, that set, what was really interesting about it is that Viper played really, really well still. It wasn't like he was making mistakes all over the place. It felt just, I mean, it felt like it was a little bit of play and then a little bit of matchup. And then otherwise, it was just Adriel did both those things a little bit better. Am I wrong in kind of simplifying it like that?
No, I think it was kind of just like an A+ versus an A-.
Yeah.
The A-, you're still gonna do well. You're still gonna get a win off of them in a BO5. You're still gonna look like you're inside the game, but it's an A+. It's 100%. There were no mistakes whatsoever. And I think if he continues to show this level, if Viper continues to show this level, he does have a chance to move on. He does have a chance to beat Pedro. I don't think it's, you can't look at that set and really create some huge knock against him. But at the same time, Pedro, it's just you can't root against, like you can't vote against him. You have to assume that he's going to win this set.
Pedro's run today started with Ian, where he ran minor wall breakers and was able to take a nice win there. And then he lost. He played Ian running Mortar with Skeleton King and Evo Barrel against a Drill Spirit Empress Evo Valk deck. And then it's just been all W's from Pedro there on out. He beat Ian to close out that best of 3, and then he 2-0'd Clown, and then he 2-0'd OP Sam. So a guy that has just been firing on all levels. And these are the archetypes or win conditions he's played over the last little bit. Royal Giant, Hog, Graveyard, Mortar, Ram Rider, Drill, Wall Breakers. 7 different games, 7 different win cons. No repeats.
Ooh.
Love to see it.
Wow. That's man, going up against somebody, and so obviously some of those, even if there are different archetypes, they are going to share some of those cards. But knowing that you just used 4 different decks, you kind of showcased your strategy going into these BO5s, and then seeing that your opponent hasn't repeated a single deck. I mean, it's just one more thing to give all the momentum in the world to Pedro.
There, the prize money one. I feel that was early of the graveyard, and graveyard what looks like a graveyard mirror matchup, but we shall see. I was just gonna say, you look at there on the left-hand side of your screen, 2023, great year for Pedro, picking up over $140,000, especially living in Brazil. That's gonna go. I mean, that's gonna go a long way no matter where you live. Let's be honest. But $140,000 plus, great stuff for him. Winning just under $200,000 in his career. Viper on the other side of it, who's played for a very, very long time, still trying to cross that 50K mark, and maybe 2025 is the year that he does it.
Yep, and right here, Pedro and Viper, game number 1s, and not an entire, is it still, I think it still could be a mirror match.
Yeah, the Ice Wizard and the Berserker, I think, are the 2 differences, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I really love Ice Spirit instead of Skellies in this deck. I think pairing the Graveyard with the Ice Spirit, especially because there are always going to be like 1 or 2 crazy interactions where your opponent can defend with minions or they can defend with something. You go Graveyard, then Ice Spirit, then Poison. You just have a lot of opportunities for interesting pushes that you don't have otherwise with these Skellies.
I'm trying to see if this Ice Wiz is actually going to do well for Viper as this game goes on. I wonder if there's a card that could have better suited this, like the Berserker, but because the Ice Spirit, I mean, I guess the best thing for the Ice Spirit right now is going to be dropped on top of guess the Skellies. I don't. Actually, it's hard. I don't know. What do you think? Is it always better to be played up high to defend and stop the Evo Furnace and the Evo Knight push, or is it better to be dropped late low to clear up skeletons? I guess Viper might answer that question for us.
Yeah, I don't know. I think even though you are getting, you know, okay value, I don't think it's going to be anything more than okay value. I think this mirror match is pretty much just Pedro's deck is a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so with all the momentum going for him right now, plus some really solid gameplay, some beautiful outplays, getting the bar barrel down because you know your opponent has the Evo Knight in hand. I mean, this is exactly what you're looking for if you're a fan of Pedro.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just talking about right there is like, you know, we saw 2 graveyards come down. The first one already had an Ice Wiz down and then dropped a second one in, and they both got cleared off the board with the poison. Now we see another graveyard come in, gets an Ice Wiz and a Furnace dropped in, gets cleared off the board with poison. Now we're seeing a 3rd graveyard come in with a Bar Barrel plus Ice Wiz, and now it's you're so far ahead in the league, you don't even need to put in the poison. I mean, I know it's only 1,000 HP in its graveyard, but it's still a tall hill to climb when your opponent has Berserker and poison.
Yeah, defensive poison coming out from Pedro. The Knight putting in a lot of work, and this Furnace getting, you know, quite a bit of value. You know, the Furnaces going across the bridge, they're tough to stop, and we're seeing right here that, you know, he can bring himself back into this game.
Damage is in. Narrows that gap just a hair, and he gets right back on offense, does Viper. There's an offensive poison on top of the Furnace and a defensive poison on top of the GUI. And, you know, Pedro doing, I think, exactly, though, what you want your opponent, or what you want to do is make your opponent feel a little comfortable, make them get back in the swing of offense and then instead of the swing of defense, get some good defenses in, send in one more graveyard to put, you know, the nail in the coffin. I mean, we're only separated by 400. Things could change here. One skeleton looks like it connects on the top there. Poison does come in, but that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, Pedro with a stellar game number 1. Very few mistakes, if any. Overall, just a pretty big advantage with the matchup advantage. And then at the same time, I think he controlled too many aspects. There wasn't any sort of like small thing that Viper outplayed him in. They either played at the same level or Pedro outplayed him in pretty much every single area.
Yeah, and I'm looking over here at my notes because it's just like yesterday it felt like there was certain moments where there was just different levels to this game and to this thing. And Pedro versus Curry was one of those instances because, you know, it was an elimination match at the end of the day. Pedro wins game 1, Curry wins game 2, and then it felt like in game 3, Pedro just kind of did that thing that players can do when they're better. It's like when you watch an NBA player go play pickup at LA Fitness, and it's like, oh, we're all having fun, and then like, oh yeah, I did this for like 15 years at the highest level. That's kind of what it feels like right now with Adriel, Pedro, and Viper, and I hate to say that because I really do love Viper, but it just feels like there's different levels and you can really feel it right now. It felt it in that first set against Adriel. We're feeling it right now, just in the deck choices here in game number 1, and also the macro understanding of what that matchup was. And again, not to pick on Curry yesterday, but similarly, it was the same thing in that best of 3 where it was just like, it felt like Pedro was like, okay, I'm done playing around. Let me just win this game and lock in the fact that I'm going to be there on day number 2. So we'll see if Viper can change at least my tune, because I know that he is good enough to do it. But as of right now, it feels like Pedro and Adriel are setting up for a grand finals where we will be seeing another drop. And I think we are getting confirmation that it is an emote drop. So stop typing exclamation point something in the chat, because it doesn't work.
You don't love it at this point?
I hate it more than almost anything. Honestly, them telling us to be quiet, start the games, and stop yapping, I hate 5% less than this. That's how much it bothers me. Because for 9 years, we've not been able to control the pace of the game. So if you say that at this point, it's still just wild to me. But the fact that, like, thousands of people are doing something that doesn't work relentlessly, it just, like, it cracks me up.
And right there, wow, Pedro, those are the interactions where
Yeah.
like other people would have gone defensive mortar, and the reason and because he doesn't, that's one shot on the tower. Plus, it allows him to get the elixir and required to be able to defend the boss bandit. I mean, just nobody else is making these plays.
No, he's just, it's just, again, levels, the calm, the poise, the fact that he's laughing right now, like that, all those things. It's the same thing as Mo, like sipping on his little cup of, you know, water or tea or whatever you want to call it, and then looking into the camera and smiling. There's just, when you see the guy that you're going up against on that next level, it's a scary thing.
Goblin Gang placed at the bridge. The Ghost going to come down in time and be able to clean that up very nicely. Pretty incredible interaction going there in the favor of Viper, and Cannon Cart shown from Pedro. We've seen a little bit of Cannon Cart, and not surprised to see it in a best of 5.
Cannon Cart really strong right now, but it feels like a little bit overshadowed by a lot of the other things and changes that have happened in the game. For a King Tower activation there, not going to get it. Hard to do with the Evo Mortar, hard to do with the guards, hard to do in general.
Okay, just a very interesting interaction. Needs the Ghost to get the shot. I mean, this could be real trouble coming in for Viper.
That's a little bit too much spent for not a lot of defense happening. It feels like this right-hand side is going to be a ton of trouble. Cannon Cart connects after the Dart Goblin connects. Cannon Cart still getting tanked for. Mortar on the tower. Game 2 already locked up, AC.
Yeah. Getting way too much value. Even the snowball at the very end, it does feel, I mean, you know, in those situations, you know the game's over, you know it's done, but you want to at least get every interaction correct. And he missed one of the spirit goblins. He pushed the goblins to the opposite side, so that way they would take out the Ghost. Just a little too much panic from Viper in game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part of being a pro that no one really likes, right? This is the part of being a pro that's the really hard, kind of unfun part of it, which is like really building up that mental fortitude and that mental perseverance. Like, you know, you see the best players in the world, they use all 5 of those minutes and they don't feel like they've lost the game until that 5th minute ticks in, right? You can feel a little bit demoralized. You know, you can feel like you're not in the great spot, but the best players will fight till that final moment. The other part of it is you have to be willing to come from losing a set, maybe brutally, to going right back into another set that you start to lose because maybe you're still tilted or maybe it's a bad matchup conversation in the beginning of it. I mean, this is the hardest thing about being a pro, is turning things around when things really aren't going your way. And I feel like the experience of Viper at the highest level might not be quite where it needs to be mentally.
Yeah, I just feel like we shouldn't be saying heal spirit. You know, it's crazy to be able to like it feels like I'm wrapping up all of your points by just saying the word heal spirit. And those, I don't know. There's just something off so far, and you know he still obviously has an opportunity. He will need to get 3 games in a row, and you know it certainly is possible. But going down 1-3 in the prior set, and now 0-2, definitely something needs to change. Whether it be his attitude, his gameplay, maybe he needs to work on a few more decks. Just something needs to be changed after this month.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to say how do you practice like the pressure of the moment, because I really do feel like that's a lot of what this is just the pressure of the moment. We're seeing him overspend a lot on defenses. Problem is when you overspend on defense on ladder, you might get punished a little bit. When you overspend on defense in CRL, like, you just kind of lose a lot of the time, and we've seen that a lot this weekend. We've seen Pedro do it just in that game right there. We saw Adriel do it in the previous set. Is, you know, it's so unforgiving at the highest level. You know, AC, I know Juicy knows, and Rich and I have talked about it for so long now. Is, you know, a 1 or 2 elixir mistake can just cascade into a tower going down. And, you know, the ability that we've seen these mortar decks create pressure in both lanes the moment that there's any blood in the water and the sharks are let loose, it's been impressive to watch. But it's also been one of those things where you watch Viper and you're like, yeah, man, that makes sense why, you know, it's exciting for us to talk about you doing as well as you are in 2025, whereas where Adriel and Pedro have just been putting in the time over the last few years.
Yeah, just month in, month out, year in, year out, just trying to make sure that they're doing everything they can to set themselves up with success. And so far, they absolutely have. It's been incredible to see both of their journeys, truly and honestly.
So here we go. Another firecracker coming out. Evo firecracker here for viiper. See if he has some success with it.
Pedro just gonna go back to the well with his minor poison, quick cycle, poison, cannon, log, probably the last 3 cards for him. And the viiper on the other side, interesting deck so far, and yeah, we're gonna see a Mega Knight, potentially the first Mega Knight of the day.
Yeah, I mean, this looks pretty similar to a deck that I think we saw Moogie run yesterday. Might have been Moogie, and I know that there's like versions of this type of like MK Prince spam deck on ladder. I don't know, man. I will say that it didn't fare well yesterday, and I feel like there's maybe a reason we haven't seen a lot of it in general this weekend. And honestly, if I'm viiper, I'm not feeling too great about going into minor control with wall breakers. Even though this deck does have the potential to overwhelm, and maybe this is one of the best decks to do it, because when you think about the MK plus Prince push that can come in and how difficult it might be to stop that, along with a firecracker behind, because you don't have many ground tanks other than just the mighty miner. But if anyone can do it, it's definitely Pedro. So we'll see if this kind of unorthodox reach of a deck will work out for viiper.
So as we head into a double elixir, both players trading their minions, and we finally see viiper's first real big push going in with the Evo wall breaks opposite lane, trying to apply some pressure, and that's exactly what happens. Gets a ton of chip damage, and now it's how much damage can viiper get.
Yeah, super interesting. Prince connects, and there we go. This is a little bit of what we were talking about. There's just no ground tanks here for Pedro, and that is a massive connection. Also, this deck is usually seen with like Archer Queen and wall breakers, but instead goes Firecracker and Hogs. So a little weird, little different, and you know what? If you can't beat them the traditional way, maybe beat them this way. Great opening here for viiper in game number 3. Back up against the wall, facing elimination from the tournament.
Yeah, and look, there's really nothing sweeter, nothing better than seeing a player go down 1-3 in their previous set, go down 0-2, and then still fight. Like, this is one of the more impressive wins we've seen all day, and has nothing to do with skill, has nothing to do with matchup, anything else besides the fact that after what he just went through in the last 20 minutes of his life, that he's able to come out and get a Game 3 victory.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he's starting to feel a little bit of that momentum. It's fun to do it with a deck like that. Great way to break on through. I liked a little bit of changes to it, like I had mentioned. And also, one of the things that we noticed, even though I was sitting there saying how unorthodox it was, I was also pointing out that there's just not a lot of ground tankage on the board for Pedro. And when you're talking about an MK, especially an Evo MK that's going to make it so your Mighty Miner has to reset with a Prince behind, I don't really know what you do, because you're like, okay, maybe I want to surround the MK with the Skellies, but then I need the Skellies to soak up the charge from the Prince. If my miner is only used to soak up charges and be a tank, then I'm never going to get back on offense. So really nice stuff there. And again, like I don't know if Pedro was expecting the wall breakers like what I was usually expecting when you see the Prince and MK and the arrows, but Hog comes out and does some good work.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really good point. The Hog being played instead of the wall breakers definitely can get pretty funky, and a really nice game 3 victory as we take a look at all of the decks overall. And Pedro finally losing with minor. This is it's just kind of weird to say all those words together in one sentence.
Yeah, well, you can't go completely 100%. It wasn't minor poison, it was minor
True.
fireball, so it's a little bit different. But we're at least still alive here in our lower bracket final. One of these guys is going to be sent home in 3rd place with a chunk of change and a good amount of points. The other, we're going to be going on to face off against Adriel in that upper bracket. Remember, whoever wins this set technically has to win 2 more best of 5s if they want to be the champion. Adriel still has a life to give. We are in the lower bracket at the moment, And it would be kind of fun to take a look at the bracket while we're waiting for these guys, if that's possible. If not, not a big deal, but just something to kind of give people a bit of reference to where we were on the day. Oh, they teased me. They got me.
Yeah. They
I
got you
thought
good.
that's what we were gonna do. Yeah, but not quite it. And we do have one more reward to give away. Don't worry, guys. They are coming your way in just a moment. And of course, obviously in these best of fives and from switching from one best of five to the other best of five, we got to give our players a little bit more grace, a little bit more patience sometimes to make decks. Obviously, you're starting to burn through a lot more cards. Remember, this is duel mode. You can't repeat any cards. And if you're going into a best of five, that's 8 cards times 5. That's 40 cards you can't use. Blah, 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 blah. It takes just a little bit more time to build their decks, and now Pedro looking just a little bit more locked in than he has been. We've seen a lot of laughs and a lot of smiling out of him on the camera recently, or most of today, I should say, and now looking like he's like, all right, I need to focus up so I can make it on to our grand finals.
Yeah, I think he recognized that he didn't play it perfectly. And you know, it can be all jokes. It can be a lot of fun. Even when you lose, if you're still winning, you know, 2-1, 2-0, 2-1, as long as you're playing well. And I think there was kind of like a little interaction where he activated the ability and Prince got on top of the tower, where he would have liked that one back. So I like that he's changed his demeanor, and you know, I expect big things in this game number 4.
Here we go. Evo Lumberjack to start things off. We see Lumberjack paired mostly with Ram Rider or Battle Ram. But looking like we're going to see it with Goblin Giant, maybe Demolisher, maybe some Bomber, maybe some Curse. We love to see it. If you can't beat them, join them. And this deck right now has been one that has made a lot of people pretty frustrated on ladder for quite some time. That's a great rocket.
Yeah, Pedro going to be running, I believe, the same deck that Igor was running a couple sets prior. And Viper, I do definitely want to talk about his deck choice overall for this game number 4, and that I love it. I you know, we try to, if you're an aspiring pro or if you're a pro player and you know you're matched up against somebody that you think potentially could be a little bit better, and when you're going up against you know the Muhammad Lights, the Pedros, that's going to happen, and you need to give yourself any sort of advantage running this kind of deck. This wonky, oh, let me beat you because you made one tiny mistake and you couldn't do anything about it. I love this deck choice from Viper in game number 4.
Yeah, I think all those things are really great to point out. It kind of continues the conversation we had earlier in the day, which is just do what you can to win at the highest level, whether that's making weird decks, whether that's running, you know, the spammy cheese decks that are at the top of the ladder, whatever it may be. I'd love to see Viper just maybe pause a little bit, not get too aggressive here in single, to where he can really figure out exactly what he's running into. And you know, he's already got a target for his curse, right? He's got the Bomber, he's got the guards, he's got a good way there to turn some of his opponent's defense into offense. Now he just needs to figure out a way to do it, because Pedro's going to be happy to rocket the pileups at the bridge. He's also going to be very, very happy to build Sim City on his side of the board.
Right here, Spirit Emperor is going to be taken out, not entirely by the Tesla. I believe the Tesla should be taken out in time, and now with only 5 Elixir, the Evo Snowball can help quite a bit, especially with the help of the Evo Tesla, and, you know, a defense that I thought was going to be impossible becomes relatively easy.
Really clean, and then even the Boss Bandit pulls out Elixir on the right-hand side of the board. You can ignore the Demolisher's damage, and the Demolisher is now not going to be available for the next push, or you're delaying that next push. Rocket going to come in, get some value on the tower and on the Spirit Empress. That should be a bait play, AC. The only reason you should give that value right now is to bait out the Rocket so that you can build a big push. But the cycle is too fast, right?
Yeah, the cycle is going to be too quick, and you do have the Evo Gaba Giant in cycle. So if he has the Evo Lumberjack, I love it. I like getting Rockets out of the way. Right there, Boss Bandit, so far pretty clutch, but yeah, he's going to defend that pretty easily.
Man, he's making these defenses look so easy. Spirit Empress does connect on the right-hand side, but that Boss Bandit stays alive and gets a dash. Now the Bomber is on top of the tower. Wow. Or excuse me, now the bomber's baiting out that lumberjack so it doesn't get on top of the tower as well, which is completely throwing off the offensive push of Viper, the sequencing of it all. And with only 70 seconds remaining in a heavy deck, those Evos not being encircled together is something that your opponent is trying to make not happen the entire game. And that just happened right there. There's no way to get the Evo Gob Giant, Evo Lumberjack push that you want now.
Yeah, and right here, Evo Tesla, plus the help of the snowball going to force the Empress onto other troops instead of taking out the Tesla. And another really solid Tesla from Pedro. This is exactly what you want to do. Controlling the bridge, controlling everything. But it's triple elixir, so anything could happen with Viper's deck.
Boss Bandit just staying alive, controlling that side of the board, giving you the 3-card cycle, working its way back to the middle of the map. Just absolute shutdown here from Pedro, and we are going to have a barn burner of a grand finals between Adriel and Pedro, the two best players all weekend long.
Yeah, right here, going in aggressively at the bridge, exactly what you should be doing with 10 seconds left. Rocket plus Snowball plus Tesla, nothing will ever get through that defense. And game 4 is going to go Pedro's way.
Man, that was just beautiful. I mean, you talk about that mortar game earlier that I was saying was just absolutely beautiful. Here we are with Pedro running another absolutely perfect game of just going, hey, I know what you got. I know how you can put it together. Those spawned cursed goblins are never going to be a factor. You are always going to be annoyed with how long my boss bandit is on the board in the 3-card cycle. I will always have another Tesla ready to go. Just everything working out well. Oh, and by the way, every time you give me rocket value, I'm going to take it, and I'm still going to be able to defend. That's the Cal Pedro we know and we love, and did that at World Finals back in 2023.
Gotcha. Sign it. Go on. Sign it. Sign it.
You signed it?